All right, today we're putting on our detective hats. We're diving deep into the forests of Meghalaya. But we're not there to look at the trees. We're there to follow the paper trail of the timber that leaves them. Our mission? To figure out how you track accountability when it seems to just vanish into thin air. So let's just kick things off with the big question that frames our entire investigation. It's a huge paradox, right? I mean, if you or I can spot suspicious timber just by walking through a market, why can't the entire official system, with all its power and resources, trace it back to the person who signed off on it? That's the mystery we're going to crack today, and I'm going to walk you through the exact tools you need to do it.
Okay, so before we can start following the clues, we have to know what we're actually looking for. This first part is all about laying the groundwork, making sure we're all on the same page with the key terms, and basically understanding what the puzzle pieces even look like before we start trying to put them together.
First things first, let's talk about the word prosecution. Now, you might hear that and immediately think guilty verdict in court, but in the world of accountability, it's so much more than that. Think of it less as a single event and more like a long, winding paper trail. It all kicks off as something called a first information report, or FIR. Then you've got all this internal stuff like departmental inquiries and suspensions. And then way down the line, you might get a court trial, and maybe, just maybe, a conviction. The key thing to remember, every single one of those steps is a potential clue for us.
All right, now that we know what to look for, it's time to open up the investigator's toolkit. This is really the heart of it all. I'm going to show you how anyone can follow that official paper trail to start digging for some real answers. So you've basically got two main game plans here, and honestly, they work best when you use them together. First, you go straight to the source. You request the internal records directly from the agencies themselves. Your second path, you become a bit of a digital archaeologist, digging through all the public info that's already out there, just waiting for someone like you to connect the dots. Let's break down how you actually do both.
For that first step, your absolute best friend is the Right to Information Act, or RTI. It is a super powerful tool. But here's the catch. You've got to know who to ask and what to ask. It's all about strategy. You go to the Forest Department and ask about their internal investigations. Then you hit up the Anti-Corruption Bureau for any FIRs they've filed against forest staff. Then you go to the police and ask, hey, what's the latest on these cases? See how it works? Each agency holds a different piece of the puzzle. Okay, now for path number 2, digging through public records. This is where you really get to put on your digital detective hat. You're scouring high court websites, punching in keywords like illegal timber or sawmills. You're digging through the annual reports from watchdog groups. And you're definitely looking at reports from India's top auditor, the CAG, because they are fantastic at flagging the exact kind of financial weirdness or system failures we're hunting for. So you've done the work. You've gathered all this data, you've got a pile of numbers. But what does it all mean? This is where things get really interesting, because the real investigation is in the analysis. And believe me, when you're talking about accountability, numbers can absolutely lie. This is one of my favorite parts because it completely flips a common assumption on its head. Let's say you do all this research and you find that almost no officials have been prosecuted. The knee-jerk reaction is, oh, great, guess there's no corruption. But hold on. A really sharp investigator sees something else. In a place where you can see the problem with your own eyes, low numbers don't mean everything's fine. It could actually be a massive red flag that the system itself is broken, that it's failing to hold anyone accountable at all.
So how do you prove that the system is broken? Well, investigators have a term for it, case attrition. It sounds a little fancy, but it's a really simple, really powerful idea. All you do is track how many cases just disappear as they move through the justice process. Let me show you what I mean.
So let's imagine a scenario. Let's say, just for a nice round number, 100 cases are filed against officials for illegal timber activities. That's our starting line. Okay, now watch this. Out of those 100 cases that were filed, after investigations and paperwork, only 20 actually get formally charge sheeted, ready for a trial. That means 80 cases, poof, they've already vanished from the system. And then from those 20 that made it to trial, only 2 end up with a conviction. Just 2. We started with 100 cases and we're left with 2. That giant leaky funnel, that is case attrition in action. And that right there is the whole point. This massive drop-off doesn't mean 98 people were proven innocent. Nope. It's a huge, flashing neon sign that the system itself is failing, again and again, letting accountability just dissolve into thin air. Okay, so we have the tools, we know how to analyze the data, But there is one last piece of the puzzle, and it is absolutely crucial. Let's call it the investigator's code. This is all about how to do this work responsibly, ethically, and safely. And listen, these rules are non-negotiable. Your real power here comes from using the system's own data, so you have to focus on the facts. We're talking case numbers, dates, official records. You have to stick to public documents and never name individuals unless you have rock-solid, verified public proof. Let the paper trail you've uncovered tell the story for you. Trust me, it's way more powerful that way, and it keeps your reporting credible and safe.
So there you have it. We've gone through the tools, the techniques, and the ethics. We've mapped out how you can follow these secret trails hidden right inside the system. But the goal here wasn't to just hand you an answer. It was to give you the right questions and, more importantly, the roadmap to find those answers for yourself. And that brings us right back to where we started, with that same big unanswered question. But it feels different now, doesn't it? Because now you know the playbook. You know to look for those departmental inquiries, for those FIRs, for those audit reports. You know how to read the numbers and understand what a lack of data truly means. The investigation is far from over, but now you know how to follow the trail.